Hello students, I am Rajeshri ma'am and you are watching English Guidance for School Children. And this is the second part of the story Samrat Sambar. Today I am going to explain the second part of the story. First, let's revise. What helped Pincho to forget his humiliation? Pincho got a scent of another animal and which helped him to forget his humiliation. Why did the sambar disappear into the forest? The sambar got disturbed by the activities of Pincho and that is why he disappeared in the forest. Why was the author's place a safe haven for the sambar? The author's place was a safe haven for the sambar because his father was an animal lover and the wild creatures and he would never let forest fires get inside the boundary and wildlife was left undisturbed in that place, and that is why the animals were safe at their place. Bishan Singh, however, had yet another grudge against Samrat. Bishan Singh had a grudge, that means he was angry uh, because of some past incidents against Samrat. On one occasion, Bishan Singh was particularly angry with Samrat because he would spoil the crops of their estate. And second thing, there was a past incident for which he had a grudge against Samrat. On one occasion, the Samrat had got the better of him and made him look silly. One occasion, Samrat became superior and Bishan Singh became fool before him. My father had a reed with which he would call the kakkar or barking deer. The author's father had a reed. Reed is a wind instrument by which a sound would come out like the sound of a deer, baby deer, who was in distress. From a distance, this reed sounds just like the bleating of a young kakkar. Father explained, a female thinks her young one is in distress and comes even from a long way off. And his father used to blow it because uh, female deer would come by the sound of that reed because she thought that her children or any other baby deer was in distress. But he had found that once a female came in response to the reed and then managed to get away. She never made the same mistake again. But once the female deer would found that it was not the sound of a baby deer, she would go away and never would come back with the sound of that reed. On hikes over the hills or on camping trips, he sometimes used the reed while we crouched beside him in a bush, waiting with bated breath for the kakkar to leap into view and then turn and flee at the sight of us. When they would go for hiking or camping, they would very often wait for the female deer to come with by the sound of that reed. They used to wait for their leaping before their sight and flew away and she used to flee away from their sight when she would find that it was not a actual deer. We hoped that in doing so We saved their lives by teaching them to distinguish between the reed and a genuine call from a fawn. They thought, the author and his father thought that they would train the female deer to know which is the actual sound of their babies or the sound of the reed. One evening, Bishan took us out to a spot where Kamli had seen a number of barking deer while collecting firewood. One day, they went. One evening, Bishan took us out to a spot where Kamli had seen a number of barking deer. Kamli had seen barking deer, and Bishan would took the children to a place. Asking my sister and me to sit beside thick bushes, he hid in a gully lower down the slope. The children were hiding behind thick bushes, and he was in a gully. Gully uh, is a valley made by the streams or fast flowing stream or by rain. As he blew high bleating calls on the reed, he fixed his eyes on the trees, where he felt sure a female cucker would come speeding through the oaks. And he started blowing that reed to and expected the female cucker to come. He blew and he blew. He went on blowing again and again. Nothing happened. Half an hour passed and we grew restless. He was blowing the reed for a long time, but nobody would come. No female deer would come, and the children also grew restless. My right leg had gone to sleep. That means his right leg was senseless, because if we stay in a position for a long time, our some body parts get senseless, because there is no blood circulation. And my sister found she was close to a small termite mound. Termite is an insect which eats up wood, and they also form mound in the open fields also. And his sister was beside a termite mound. She nudged me, that means stroked him with her shoulder, to draw my attention to it, and I gripped her arm and pointed in excitement. She stroked him with her arm, but with her elbow, and to draw his attention, but he make her calm. He made her calm in excitement, and because he was expecting something. There, from among the oaks directly behind Bishan, came Samrat Sambar. At that time, they found that Samrat Sambar was coming, and he was behind Bishan. When there was he appeared behind Bishan, so Bishan could not see him. How soundlessly he moved despite his size. Not a leaf or twig sounded under his hoofs, and he was moving silently, tense with excitement, and that is why Bishan could not point him at all. Tense with excitement, we watched the magnificent creature move slowly to the edge of the gully. He seemed curious about the helpless little cucker calling so pathetically for its mother. And he was the Samrat Sambar was curious to hear the sound. Uh, he also could not understand, might thought that it was a child deer who was calling his mother, and he was just looking curiously. Lowering his antlered head, he looked into the ditch. At that time, he looked into the ditch with his antlered head. That means the with his horned head. To his disgust, it proved to be a human being. Oh, it's a human being, he thought. Surr, he snorted. He made a sound with his nose with annoyance and fright. Annoyance means he was disgusted, and fright also got somewhat frightened, startling Bishan so that he jumped straight into the air, and Bishan became out of mind. Startled means became out of mind, and he jumped at that time. Bag, bag, he yelled loudly. Leopard, hoot, hoot, and he thought that it was a leopard came there. He could not understand that it was a sambar. Wheeling swiftly, Samrat made for the cover of the trees. He didn't flee headlong, but went with great dignity, his head held high. And but Samrat, at first he moved there from there swiftly, but afterwards he did not flee away. He only moved with great dignity. That means nothing, and nothing to be worried from a human being. Where did Bishan Singh take the author and her sister one day? One day, Bishan Singh took took the author and his sister to a spot where Kamli had seen a number of barking deer while collecting firewood. Why did the children get restless while waiting for the female deer? It was a long time when the Bishan was blowing the reed. It was for a long time Bishan was blowing the reed, but no deer had appeared there. So the children became restless. What was Samrat curious about? Samrat was curious about the fawns who were calling their mother in distress. Bishan climbed out of the gully and came up the slope where we were rolling helplessly on the grass, convulsed with laughter. And Bishan was mistaken, and he thought that it was a leopard came to his back, and seeing that, the children became very much amused and started laughing. And they were convulsed with laughter. They were trembling with laughter. He was very red in the face, and Bishan Singh became ashamed because he got frightened, partly with anger and partly with embarrassment, as he scrubbed the back of his neck with a handful of grass. And at that, he became angry also and also embarrassed, and he was scrubbing his neck with a handful of grass. Why? Chi, 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 he exclaimed with disgust. Yeah, he started saying, chi, chi, chi. Something disgusting had happened to him. What? The deer spattered me with spittle when he sneezed. The deer actually spitted on him when he sneezed. Then also, and which had spittle means spit or lava, which had fallen on Bishan Singh. Then he also began to laugh, and the noise we made probably frightened off any female cuckers nearby who might have come rushing in response to Bishan's bleating calls, which was a good thing. And they made so much noise with their laughter that no deer would dare to come there. Because of that noise, and the author thought that it was a good thing. I suspect even the magnificent Samrat learnt a worthwhile lesson that day, and he thought that Samrat had also got a lesson that day. He also got scared because when they started laughing so much, and because of that noise, he might have run away from there. So this is the line by line explanation of this chapter. If you have any queries, then students, you can ask me it in the comment box. I will definitely look into the matter and solve your problems. So this is all for today. Bye.